It's time to duel.
For any popular manga series that's been around for a year or more in many of the popular magazines, one of the things that a lot of these series love to do is having character popularity polls. They don't really have an actual effect on the manga itself. Typically, it's more so just a way for the fandom to kind of vote and fight to show off which characters they love the most and to see who can beat who in a top 10 list. And the main reason why I'm choosing to do this topic for this week's podcast is in next week's issue of Jump, which should be on December 7th. My Hero Academia has the cover for a Shonen Jump. It has the lead color pages, and in these lead color pages, it has the latest character popularity poll. And this is the 6th one at that. And the results of this one were too interesting for me to pass up. So I decided, why not have some fun with this week's episode and talk about popularity polls. So just like that says, we're going to be looking in this episode at the My Hero Academia popularity polls. We're going to look at a few of the different popularity polls from some of the current Jump series, as well as a few old ones. And at the very end of the video, we are going to talk about arguably the most notorious character popularity poll that has come out within the last few years. And for those of you that read Shonen Jump, I'm sure you might know what that one is. But for those that don't, it's gonna be a fun ride once we get there. I promise you that. So that being said, there will be minor spoilers throughout this video in terms of certain characters that are going to be on certain lists. The vast majority of the characters that we're going to be talking about are ones that have appeared in the animes for most of these series, save for a couple characters. Especially with that being said with Jujutsu Kaisen, since obviously that's only like 8 episodes into its anime. So that being said, like I said, there are some light spoilers in there, but otherwise nothing too crazy. But if that's something where you're like, I might want to hold off, by all means save this video for later. Especially if you don't want to be surprised by the popularity poll results for My Hero coming out in a few days. But again, up to you. Like I said, not spoiling anything story-wise, just a bunch of characters. But otherwise, with that introduction out of the way, and with those warnings out of the way, my name is Jordan, aka Axel Blaze, and let's get into these very interesting character popularity polls. So, like I said, we are starting off with My Hero Academia. And like I said, the recent poll that's coming out is the 6th overall poll that they have held for My Hero Academia. And the top 10 are as follows, and as you see on the screen here, if you're watching on YouTube, first place went to Bakugo, second place went to Deku, third place went to Todoroki, fourth place went to Ida, fifth to Aizawa, sixth to Kirishima, seventh to Hawks, eighth to Endeavor, ninth went to Shindo, and 10th went to Shigaraki. Now you might be wondering to yourself, did he misspeak? Did he mean to say Shinzo and accidentally said Shindo instead? No, I am not. For those of you that can't necessarily tell by the picture, because he looks very generic in the picture there, Shindo was one of the characters from the practical exam from one of the other schools. He was the guy with the black hair, had a shirtless kind of hero outfit, and he could cause kind of like earthquakes with his quirk. He in no way has been an important character at all recently. Apparently, according to the wiki, he made an appearance in like the third intern arc, supposedly. Not that I really remember, and it's not like even the wiki summary for that even really mentioned him, but supposedly he was there. Yeah, this one, I don't really know what was going on here with that one. I don't know if this was just like something where it's just like people in Japan were like, we really like this Shindo guy because he's kind of a himbo character. So we're gonna vote him as a joke or something like that. But then you actually, if you look at the poll results for polls 2 through 6th, in the second character poll, he came in 20th. In the third character poll, he wasn't in the top 20 at all. In the fourth poll, he moved up to 14th. And in the fifth poll, he was at 15th. And then somehow, some way, despite not doing anything at all noteworthy between the last two polls, got bumped up to number 9. And I mean, all I can kind of crack it up to is that maybe this is a joke. Maybe this is the Fujoshi agenda, as some people put it on the internet. Who really knows? All I'll say is that when it comes to some jump popularity polls, there are several where you will have, not necessarily in the top 10, but in like the top 20, maybe top 30 or whatever, you'll have some like gag characters and things that pop up in the poll. It's kind of inevitable for ones where like you can just write in whatever you want. So that is a thing that you'll see, especially in some of the later lists. But yeah, for a series like My Hero Academia, where there are so many notable characters, so many that people like fan over all the time, it was really weird to me seeing Shindo on that list. But yeah, moving past him though, 'cause I do want to talk about more things with these popularity polls. I never knew this personally myself, but the fact of the matter is, Bakugo has won first place from the second poll to the 6th poll in Japan. The only time he ever lost a character popularity poll was in the first popularity poll, and he lost that to Deku. And Deku has ever since come in second place every single time. So to me, it's really interesting that Bakugo gets more votes than Deku. I mean, I guess I can argue that Bakugo is technically a little bit more interesting character, even though he just yells all the time. And there will be people that will argue the fact of, Deku versus Bakugo. But I mean, that being said, with a lot of the character development that's been happening for Bakugo, I can definitely see why he has maintained a lot of popularity. I will say, I did see on the Wikipedia page that there were 5 U.S. polls that have happened in terms of the popularity ones, and essentially the same thing happens there. Bakugo has won 4 out of the 5 times that there have been U.S. polls, and just like in the Japanese side of things, he lost the first one to Deku. Otherwise, he's won every other time. Other than that, there weren't necessarily any other kind of like notable, like, whoa, what is this character doing here on the list kind of things on the US side of things. It was really only Shindo. Really just him. One last notable thing for the latest poll is that you might have noticed by now, especially if you've, again, are on YouTube and have been staring at the screen this entire time, that there is not a single girl in the top 10. This is the first time for My Hero that a girl has not made it into the top 10. I want to say that it was Toga that made it in, or that was 11th in this one. I'm gonna double check here. No, sorry. 11th went to Present Mike, and Momo was number 12. Which I guess Momo being that high up there isn't that shocking. She's been in several of the popularity polls herself. Um, but yeah, take what you will with that information of, why isn't a girl making it into the top 10? Not that there's anything wrong with the guys taking up the top 10. But yeah, this just kind of saying that's kind of been a thing with My Hero Academia lately. It's been a boy centric thing lately. But that's all I have to say about that. And I'll ask you guys, what you think about these popularity poll results. If you think that anybody should have been in a top 10 rather than other people, if you have a character that like didn't appear at all, or a character that's just interesting to you, let me know in the comments. And what I'm saying rings true for everything else that I'll be talking about here. If you have particular thoughts on like one of the popularity polls or whatnot, or specific characters, I'd like to hear about it, and we can definitely have a conversation in the comment section, because again, it's really interesting to see uh, who makes it into these lists and whatnot, and what Japan thinks of certain characters compared to what us in the States or wherever you watch or read Jump titles, what the differences in opinions are between those locations. But yeah, those are my thoughts on My Hero Academia and the popularity poll there. So, with that one out of the way, we're going to talk about some of the other popularity polls that have happened over the years and whatnot. And I thought to start off with, why not talk about One Piece? Obviously, One Piece, being the just giant series that it is in Shonen Jump, it has had a number of popularity polls. It has had a lot of them. Interestingly enough, though, the last popularity poll that One Piece had was released 3 years ago with chapter 874, and this was still when Whole Cake Island, when that plot was going on, and that chapter specifically that this poll was released, or the results were released, was when they were still escaping Whole Cake Island and running through the seducing woods away from Big Mom. And this was when Nami took Zeus away from Big Mom, and Prometheus burned down King Bomb. So that was interesting. So the top 10 for One Piece in the last character poll that was released, you had Luffy in first place, Zoro in second place, Sanji in third, Trafalgar Law in fourth, Ace at fifth, Jinbei at sixth, Chopper at seventh, Nami at 8, Sabo at 9, and Boa Hancock at 10. So here, these are all more or less characters that like kind of make sense being in the top 10. You've got a lot of ones that were, in previous lists. I mean, obviously Luffy, Zoro, Sanji, and Law, as well as Ace, have been in a lot of these lists. Ace, in particular, has been in every list except for the first one, which the first popularity poll was released during the Baratier arc. So that goes to show how long ago that first poll was. So obviously Ace couldn't be in that one, since Alabasta happened well after the Baratier arc. So there's that to be said there. Some of the other interesting ones, though, in the top 20. Cavendish was 13th. Reiju Vinsmoke was 14th. Corazon was 16th, Doflamingo was 17th, and Marco was in the 20th spot. There was no Bartolomeo in this top 20, despite him being in the top 10 the previous poll. So a lot of interesting things to kind of dissect here. Definitely the biggest one being that Reiju was in 14th place and beat out hundreds of other One Piece characters. And like I don't necessarily blame people for putting Reiju in the top 20, but it should be noted that she debuted in the manga in chapter 826, and like I said, the popularity poll results were posted in chapter 874. So between her debut and the results, she was in the manga for 49 chapters. So really, the interesting thing to take away here is that One Piece, more often than not, is one of those series that has a recency bias to a degree compared to some other popularity polls. With One Piece, like I said, in comparison, the previous popularity poll had Bartolomeo in the top 10. Yet in this current list, he's not in the top 20 at all, and Cavendish is still there. Of all people, he is still there. Not that I don't like Cavendish, I just like Bartolomeo better because he is the living personification of a One Piece stan. But yeah, again, just the fact that like you can have a character that has appeared in 49 over the course of 49 chapters and make it in this top 20 list. Same with Corazon for that matter, but I mean, that being said, Corazon obviously has a much bigger impact on the story with how tied into Law's backstory is, so yeah, there's something to be said there. Marco at the 20th spot, I don't really have any complaints there. I mean, Marco was definitely one of the coolest aspects of the Whitebeard Pirates, so I'm not complaining there. But yeah, it really makes me interested to see what will happen if and when we get another One Piece popularity poll. I definitely think that we're going to see, I guess I shouldn't say definitely going to see it. I think we're going to see Kaido in there, and we are definitely going to see a character in relation to Kaido in the top 20, if I had to guess. Just because, again, I think recency bias is definitely going to have an impact on this one. But it'll be interesting to see what happens there. So yeah, that being said, this is another one of those series, so where Luffy was, in contrast to My Hero Academia, Luffy was always number one in the popularity polls for One Piece. And that is the case for, several other characters that are going to be on this list as well. But yeah, I thought I would mention that one because One Piece had an interesting inclusion to the list. It wasn't really anything out of the normal. Speaking of the normal, Black Clover is one where I think that's another interesting thing to touch on. So for Black Clover, I want to talk about their 2019 poll and their 2020 poll. So for 2019, the top 10 was Asta, Yami, Noelle, Yuno, Maria Leona, Charlotte, Charmy, Mimosa, Luck, and Gauche. In contrast, in 2020, you had Asta again at number 1, Yami again at number 2, Charlotte at number 3 moving up, Yuno at 4th again, Noelle, Nero/Sekire, Gauche, Luck, Leopold, and Magna. So, one of the interesting things that I saw with this list, and I was actually semi-shocked about this, Asta and Yami, in every single character poll that has been released, have been in the first and second place spots respectively. They have maintained those spots the entire time, and again, I was kind of surprised. I thought that like if any character could beat out the main character in terms of the popularity, it would be Yami. But no, Asta maintained the number 1 spot every single time with a decent lead every time at that too. So I guess you can kind of say take that Deku on that one. Asta at least is number 1 in this character poll every single time. This is another one where like the core of the list doesn't necessarily change all that much. You get to see Asta, Yami, Noelle, Yuno, Luck, and Gauche, I believe, in almost every single character poll. Obviously, with like a few changes here and there. 2019, Maria Leona being in the top 10 list made a lot of sense with how much of an impact she had on the manga. Whereas within 2020, Nero getting in the top 10, as well as Leopold. I mean, that Leopold getting in the top 10, that was my shock. For those that read the manga, I mean, I guess it makes sense that he would be in the top 10. It's another one of those recency biases things, I think. I think that was also the case with Magna, despite the fact that, and this is a slight spoiler here, for those that know that there's a time skip, he hasn't appeared in the time skip at all, or after the time skip happened at all yet. So his inclusion in there is just kind of like, just a random surge in popularity for Magna, and or people just like, we really like Magna and we want him to come back. Something along those lines. Who knows? I mean, it's the same argument that or the same joke that people like to make, like, Hunter x Hunter was the best manga of 2020. Yes, Hunter x Hunter, Hunter x Hunter, the king of hiatuses, was the top series of 2020. I will say, in terms of presentation for the survey results, I will say that Black Clover and My Hero definitely do it the best. My Hero definitely having I think the best popularity poll results, color page spreads out of any of them. The work that Horikoshi does for those color spread popularity poll results is fantastic, and has impacted the ending themes for a few of the seasons of My Hero. So I can't fault that. And the latest one is just as great, if not better than some of the other ones. He just doesn't stop topping these popularity poll results. They're fantastic. And Yuki Tabata, the author of Black Clover, I love seeing his art for the top 10s as well. He does a really good job, compared to some of the other series where they just kind of here's just kind of clips of the characters, just kind of here, take that as you will. So yeah, Black Clover, at least compared to the next two series, and to a degree is at least a little bit normal compared to the next two. So, next two series I'm going to talk about are Dr. Stone and Jujutsu Kaisen, because both of these have also had character popularity polls. Jujutsu Kaisen with just 1 and Dr. Stone with 2. And for Dr. Stone, we're specifically going to talk about the second popularity poll. And for this, quick spoiler warning, there are 2 characters in the top 10 and technically a character in the top 20 that are spoilers. I'm just going to list their names for people that have not read the manga and are only watching the anime, so I won't say anything past that. But top 10 were Senku at number 1, Ryusui at number 2, Gen at number 3, Kinro at 4, Tsukasa at 5, Kohaku at 6, Suika at 7, Chrome at 8, Byakuya at 9, and Francois at 10. This is pretty straightforward in terms of this top 10 list. Senku, Ryusui, and Gen are 3 of my favorite characters in this series, for obvious reasons for anyone that reads the series, and obviously for anyone that watches the anime. Senku and Gen are kind of a given, just given how awesome their characters are. The top 20 is kind of where I was just kind of what? In 15th place was Sagara the Pig. Yeah, a kind of a throwaway-ish character. I shouldn't say throwaway-ish character. It had a purpose in terms of science. I won't spoil what kind of science, but to technically I said what they were looking for in that sentence, if you know what I mean. And 25th went to Namari, who is the village kid from the Byakuya descendants that likes to write and draw in the village. He got 25th. Okay. Sure, fine. It's not like there are, several other characters that would be more interesting there, but again, I digress. For me, this is another one of those ones where it's an epitome of let's vote for a gag character somewhere in here, and people will laugh about it. The first popularity poll had Suika's dog in that as well, so I mean, it's not like this is the first time for Dr. Stone that they've had an animal in the top 30 or so, but it was just kind of like, why did a pig get 15th place? Again, other than people just kind of joking around. And while I could say for Ryusui and Francois that there is, a potential recency bias there, at the same time, no, they're just that great of characters. They're awesome. I have no complaints about either Ryusui or Francois in their placement in the top 10, so that's fine. Recency bias or not, it's just, again, I'm focusing on that pig. The pig. Why Japan? Why the pig? It's not the most egregious example on this list, but it needed to be said. Moving on to Jujutsu Kaisen, the current talk of the town, with the anime going on and whatnot. Because of the anime, I think some people are going to be very shocked at this top 10 list, but let's get right into it. Number 1 was Itadori, 2 was Fushiguro, 3 was Gojo, 4 was Inumaki, the sorcerer that speaks in sushi. Nanami came in 5th. Kugisaki was in 6th. Yuta Okatsu was 7th. Todo was 8th. Junpei Yoshino was 9. And Sukuna was 10. And keep in mind, these were all results from 2019. So this is all happening before, for the most part, the Shibuya incident arc that is currently going on for all of 2020. So keep that in mind. Now, you may be wondering, for those that, are on top of names, you might be wondering who Yuta Okatsu is. And I will admit, I was also wondering who that was at first. He is the main character from the prequel series that happened for Jujutsu Kaisen. He's someone that is still alive in the events of the current series and apparently is studying overseas at the moment. But yeah, for anyone that is just, watching Jujutsu Kaisen, you have no idea who that is. you don't know who that is at all. And Junpei Yoshino, that was another one where it was just like, because he's, for those that are watching the anime, he's appearing right now. He's the one that's been talking to Mahito. That was another one where it's just like, I suppose he can be in the top 10. I kind of expected other characters to be in the top 10. I expected Mahito to be in the top 10, in my own personal opinion. He was not. I think he got 25th. But yeah, I was also shocked, for that matter, that Gojo came in 3rd. And he lost to Itadori and Fushiguro, for that matter. I think, given the popularity of the anime at this point, when the next Jujutsu Kaisen poll happens, I would be so shocked if Gojo did not make it as number 1. I mean, how can he not be, with how awesome he's been in the anime and arguably having the best part in the Jujutsu Kaisen ending? I mean, like, the drip on that guy is insane. So I'm interested to see how things shape up in that regard. Definitely hoping Toto also gets up there, because Toto is one of my favorite characters from Jujutsu Kaisen, and if you read the manga, you know why, and you are a fellow person of culture for liking Toto if you do. So I'll say that. But again, the reason why I mentioned this series after Doctor Stone is because it had two even weirder entries in the top 20 for this one. So, in 18th place was the quote unquote quitting waiter, the guy that ran out of the cafe when Jogo, the other curses, and Geto went into the cafe and, Jogo burnt everybody alive. He was 18th. And in 19th was the quote unquote bakery girl, with a minor spoiler here. Not that it's big. I'm not going to explain any further details. The bakery girl is from this bakery that Nanami likes to visit. She got 19th. So two characters that have very little impact on the story whatsoever made it into the top 20. And they beat out Jogo, who was 20th, and like as a Mahito, I believe was like 25th. So this is another example of just a joke characters making it into the top rankings. It'd be one thing if they were write-in characters, which a lot of other characters and whatnot are for other series. I mean, like in My Hero Academia, I think there was one popularity poll where somebody wrote in like Mega Man X, even though he wasn't in it. They also voted in Aizawa's goggles, Deku's shoes, and Bakugo's gauntlet accessories, which for the record I know, their Bakugo's accessories beat out Aizawa and Deku's accessories, so he's just winning across the board. But yeah, these were actual like voting options that Gigi Akutame actually like gave the viewers the option to vote for. So yeah, that was the thing. I thought that was important enough to like this was weird enough to mention it, and important just to show that again the Japanese popularity polls, they just like having a laugh. They like it. They also like putting their shipping pairs in, the top 10 and whatnot, but I digress. They like having a joke here and there too. So, yeah. take that for what you will. Moving away from the weird, one of the series that I wanted to mention because it had a more unique take on popularity polls and whatnot, is Haiku. Haiku did things a little bit differently. So, for the first two popularity polls that it had, it was your standard popularity polls. They, had, people ranking. I think, I want to say Hinata won both times. I'm not 100% sure on that. I'll probably show something off maybe in like the video here, showing where I'm kind of wrong. But other than the first two character polls, they actually had more interesting ones after that. So the third popularity poll was a best members poll, where this was one where people got to vote on, people in various volleyball positions who they thought was best. The fourth popularity poll was a best scene poll, and the fifth one was a best game poll. The final poll that they had was a quote-unquote best order poll, which debuted in chapter 396. And funny enough, they also had a best elder team list as well as kind of like a joke thing, which was also kind of adorable at the same time. So for this one, the best order included the characters that were the top voted of each position, and there were doubles for the middle blocker and the outside spiker. So for their best order, they had Hinata, Kuro, Kageyama, Bokuto, Sakusa, Ushijima, and Nishinoya. And for this, the list pretty much all makes sense. I have no complaints here. A lot of the other popular ones, if you don't see them right here, it's because they ranked anywhere from like second to sixth, depending on the position. But I thought this was really cool. Like other series have done like similar things to this. I want to say that like One Piece at one point in time had like a best attack poll. Naruto had a best jutsu poll, stuff like that. But it was nice to see that they shook things up kind of from year to year in that regard. And I have no complaints about that best order poll result. I think it was right on the money. And then before we get into the last poll that I want to talk about, I would be remiss not to talk about Dragon Ball Z and Naruto real quick. So for Naruto, I'll be even quicker here. I took a glimpse over the top 7 polls because they only ran 7 polls. Naruto won 3 of them. Kakashi and Sasuke both won 2. And technically, Kakashi had more total votes over Naruto. So technically, he would be the highest voted out of all 3 of them. I think what's worth noting is that Naruto won the last character poll. So I think that kind of that's kind of a nice note to leave things on. Although that being said, the results for this poll came out during the Great Ninja War arc when Team Asuma was fighting off against reincarnated Asuma. So to give you kind of a benchmark there, that was in the first third of the Great Ninja War. So yeah, it would have been very interesting to see how things got voted toward the end of the series. But yeah, I digress. I mean, that being said, for all we know, Boruto at some point could have a popularity poll, but I mean, I think we all know that Naruto and Sasuke are going to be on that one, so not exactly a shocker there. But yeah, that was kind of interesting. Oh, I should note too, Sasuke was voted number 1 in the character poll that happened right after he beat Naruto in the valley. I can't remember the name of the valley. With the Madara and first Hokage statues. That battle. And then he subsequently won the character poll that happened right after that. And I thought that one was funny because, like, at that point in that character poll, everybody else that was shown in their Shippuden outfits, and they still had Sasuke in his older Naruto outfit covered in a curse mark. So I thought that was kind of funny. It was like, just kind of like the Magna thing in Black Clover. He hadn't been seen for a while, so they just included what he looked like the last time that he was seen. So that's something funny to be said. Dragon Ball Z. I thought this was another one I thought that should be covered real quick. Back in 1993, during/after the Cell arc, was like the one time that Gohan actually beat Goku in the popularity polls. Goku was number 2, Gohan was number 1. My girlfriend joked that this was his peak, and it was his peak. It was his peak. And then Jump did Gohan dirty by making him not as interesting after the Cell saga, which was unfortunate. And that speaks true of the second poll in just a sec here, but I did want to mention Mr. Satan was number 7 in this list, which is great. Mr. Satan is a fantastic character, and if you don't appreciate Mr. Satan, then you're wrong. Just gonna say that. But 2 years later, in the 1995 poll, Goku was back on top. Gohan was unfortunately bounced all the way down to 6th, and he got beat by Gotenks, who took 4th place. Gotenks took 4th. Beat Gohan. Don't get me wrong, Gotenks did a lot technically in the Buu saga compared to Gohan, but really, really, I, you know, 1995, different times. Yeah, let's move on from that. So, last but definitely not least, if we're gonna talk about character popularity polls, we cannot forget to talk about Chainsaw Man in what is arguably the most notorious popularity poll that has ever happened in Shonen Jump, in my opinion. This one was unprecedented, and you'll find out why as soon as I start reading the list here. So, in first place was Power. Second place went to Makima. Third place went to Aki. Fourth place went to Rizai. Fifth went to Denji. Sixth went to the Angel Devil. Seventh went to Kobani's car. Eighth place went to Kobani. Ninth was Pochita. And 10th was Yoshida. A car, a destroyed car, beat out its owner in the top 10 poll. This is the shitpost to beat all shitposts. Like, are you kidding me? This is something right up Chainsaw Man fans' alley in terms of, like, if there was one thing to do, in this popularity poll, it was to make sure that Kobani lost to something that would just embarrass her even more than she's been embarrassed to this point, because that's been her character. Other than the weird mystery aspects of her character that we still don't really understand. But I digress. A car beat out its owner in a top 10 list. That is crazy. That is crazy. It's not like this is an animal. It's not like this is like some other gag character or whatnot. We are talking about an inanimate object beating out a living thing. And I'm here for it. I am absolutely here for it. This is freaking hilarious. This is the best thing that you could do in this top 10 list. It's fantastic. Amazing. Yeah, absolutely amazing. Other than that, it's kind of important to realize that there was definitely a lot of fanboy voting here on this one, considering that the top two characters were females. Two essentially of the love interests of the main character, Denji, along with Rizai for that matter. She also beat him. The fact that he came in fifth, don't get me wrong, I love Denji as a character, but yeah, I can agree that the other four that beat him definitely deserved to beat him. It's just really kind of interesting to note that a main character for a series did not place in the top 3 of his own series. Not that it's his series alone by any means, but like, yeah, girl power in this one. Pun not intended, but Power got first place, so I mean that's the thing. And I guess if the rumors are true that Chainsaw Man is ending, obviously we're not gonna have a second popularity poll for the characters, so take it or leave it with this one. I don't know that I would necessarily change anything in this order. I think all of them definitely deserve to be there in various capacities. So, yeah. But yeah, it's the Japanese people. They love including gag characters in their top 20 lists, and these lists wouldn't be as enjoyable if they didn't. I'm just gonna say that. They wouldn't be as enjoyable. Because, again, when it comes to popularity polls, they really have no major effect on a manga. I think the only time that I ever really heard of, a popularity poll, like, well, not the only time. The times that I heard about popularity polls affecting certain stuff were like with JoJo Part 3 when Avdol died and they were going to replace him with Hull Horse, but then like there was so much love for Avdol that we were like Avdol's not dead for now. And then I guess in Digimon Adventure 2 when they decided that Matt should get in a relationship with Sora instead of Tai. I think that was a popularity poll result thing. So, yeah, otherwise, for the most part, these are just, outlets for the fandoms to, fight over each other and decide, whose character that they stand the most gets to stand the tallest. And I mean, that being said, when you look online, like, for the most part, these are the same sentiments that most fans have about these characters, but it is interesting to see sometimes when things get shaken up. Whether that's through recency bias, whether that is through a joke, whether that is for the Fujoshi agenda of only having guys in a top 10 ranking. It's humorous. And I do love it, like I said, when an author decides to make it interesting and have a good, like, color page spread showing off the top 10 and sometimes beyond that. So, yeah. But for that pretty much wraps up this week's podcast. So, like I said, I want to hear from you guys what you think. What did you think of these popularity polls? Did you enjoy the joke characters? Were you confused by certain ones like I was? What's your favorite character or characters from some of these series? I would love to talk about that. Let's talk about our favorite characters from these series. No hate in the comments. No hating on other people's favorite characters. Anyone can have their favorite character. That is their opinion. Let's discuss it in the comments. I want to see what people think. So let's engage in that way. Other than that, I want to thank you guys for those of you that have listened this far in this trip of the video, because it's been a trip. It's been a fun one. I had a lot of fun in recording this podcast, and I hope you guys enjoyed listening to it. And for that matter, if you did like this podcast, it would mean a lot if you would hit that like button on this video, or like I said, post a comment in the comment section. Any kind of engagement is great. YouTube loves that shit. They will put it in their algorithm if you do that, so I would appreciate it. And if you like this content and you haven't done so already, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Click the bell notification if you want to be notified anytime I put out any other videos. As it is, I continue to put out a podcast video every Friday. That is not changing for the foreseeable future. Still looking to do Shonen Jump videos some point between Monday and Wednesdays whenever I get them uploaded to YouTube so I can get my full opinions out there. And I still got other stuff planned for December as well to round out the end of the year. I wanted to have a more kind of fun, laid-back topic for this podcast because I will be getting into more testy subjects for the end of 2020. And by testy subjects, I mean very opinionated ones, because I've got some top 10 and 20 lists that I want to have to round out the month. So look forward to that. I'm definitely going to have my girlfriend Pastel U back on to definitely talk about our favorite anime of the year. So stay tuned for that. And if there's any episodes on my podcasts, my Shonen Jump reviews, any of that you've missed, by all means, check out any of the playlists on my channel, or I'll also have some links, especially to my last podcast if you haven't watched it already, and my most recent upload other than that. So check those links out at the end. But otherwise, for now, once again, I want to thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for supporting this channel, as you've done already. My name is Jordan, aka Axel Ablaze. And I hope that if I'm ever ranked in a popularity poll, I'm not beaten out by my own car. I'd like to think that my personality is better than my car. So yeah, bye-bye, everybody.